My neighbor caught me staring from the yard. Then said, "If you want to look, just ask." I wasn't trying to stare. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. Every evening after work, I'd sit on my back porch with a cup of coffee. Across the wooden fence lived my neighbor, Emma. She had moved in only a few months earlier, after her divorce. She wasn't loud. She didn't throw parties. Most days she spent her time gardening, reading on her patio, or fixing things around her house. And somehow, I always found myself looking over. Not because she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, although she definitely was. It was because she looked lonely. The kind of lonely I recognized all too well. One Saturday afternoon, I was repairing my fence when I noticed Emma struggling to lift a heavy bag of soil. I watched for a second, wondering if I should help. Before I could decide, she looked straight at me. Our eyes locked. I froze. She smiled. Then she said something that made my heart stop. "If you want to look, just ask." I felt every drop of blood rush into my face. "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I wasn't staring." She laughed. "You've been not staring for almost 3 weeks." I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. I wasn't being creepy. I couldn't even finish the sentence. Instead of looking offended, she walked closer to the fence. End of P. "What were you looking at?" I hesitated. Then I decided to tell the truth. "You." She raised an eyebrow. I figured. But why? I looked down before answering. "Because you always look sad." The smile disappeared from her face. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally she whispered, "I didn't expect that answer." She leaned against the fence. "My husband left last year. 12 years together. He met someone younger. I sold our house and came here to start over." I nodded slowly. "I know what that feels like." She looked surprised. "You do?" "My fiancé cheated on me 2 weeks before our wedding." Emma sighed. "So we're both disasters." I laughed. "I guess we are." That conversation lasted almost an hour. For the first time, neither of us felt alone. The next evening, there was a knock on my front door. Emma stood there holding 2 plates. "I made too much lasagna. You willing to help me?" I smiled. "I think I can manage that." Dinner turned into coffee. Coffee turned into talking. Talking turned into laughing. Before we realized it, 3 hours had passed. From that day on, we knew we wouldn't be alone again. We became friends. Real friends. We helped each other with groceries, fixed things around each other's houses, shared dinners, watched old movies. Sometimes we didn't even talk. We'd just sit outside listening to the crickets, and somehow that silence felt comfortable. Then one rainy afternoon, everything changed. I came home to find Emma sitting on my porch. She was soaked. Her eyes were red from crying. I rushed over. "Emma, what happened?" She looked up. "My ex came back." I stayed quiet. "He wants another chance." "And?" I told him no. She forced a smile, but hearing his voice, it brought everything back. I sat beside her. Without thinking, I took her hand. She didn't pull away. Instead, she squeezed mine. "I don't want to be hurt again," she whispered. "You won't," I replied. "How can you know that?" I looked into her eyes. "Because the people who hurt us, they already had their chance." Silence. Rain continued falling around us. Then, very softly, she rested her head on my shoulder. Neither of us moved. Weeks passed. Our friendship kept growing. Neighbors started noticing. One afternoon, an elderly woman from down the street smiled at us. "You two make a lovely couple." Emma and I looked at each other. Neither of us corrected her. That night, she asked, "Do people really think we're together?" "I guess so." She smiled. "Does that bother you?" I answered honestly, "No." "What about you?" She looked away. "No." Again, silence. Finally she laughed. We're terrible at this. At what? Admitting what's obvious. I felt my heartbeat speeding up. So, what is obvious? She looked directly at me. I don't wait for dinner anymore. I wait for you. That sentence hit me harder than anything I'd heard in years. I smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. She laughed. You were? I've been hoping for weeks, so why didn't you tell me? I shrugged. I didn't want to ruin what we had. She stepped closer. You won't. Then, she wrapped her arms around me. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed. It just felt right. The following weekend, we planted flowers together along the fence that had first separated us. Emma looked at the fresh flowers and smiled. What? It's funny. What is? The first time I caught you staring. I thought you were just another nosy neighbor. I laughed. And now? She slipped her hand into mine. Now I'm glad you looked. A year later, that old fence came down. Not because it was broken, but because we didn't need it anymore. We built one larger garden that stretched across both yards. Our friends joked that we were the only neighbors who solved property lines by planting roses. One evening, while watering those flowers, Emma smiled at me. Remember what I said the first day? If you want to look, just ask. I nodded. I remember. She grinned. So, what are you looking at now? I looked into the eyes of the woman who had once seemed so lonely. The future. She smiled through happy tears. I was hoping you'd say that. Sometimes, life doesn't change because of grand gestures. Sometimes, it changes because someone notices your sadness. Because someone is brave enough to ask. Or because one unexpected sentence over a backyard fence becomes the beginning of a love story neither person ever saw coming.